it for this summer. We are reading and now rereading the book of Proverbs. And we have defined wisdom as this. It is knowing how to live skillfully in God's world. And we've repeatedly seen that there are two paths. There is a wise and a foolish path. And Solomon does us the favor of showing us the destination of both paths, where the foolish will lead us and where the wise will lead us, and what path we should choose. So we've been looking at different themes about those paths throughout the book of Proverbs. And so far we have looked at our words, we've looked at friendships and relationships, we've looked at money, and we've seen a very clear path laid out for both. And today we're going to look at another theme in the book of Proverbs, one that comes up quite a few times. This morning we're going to talk about work. We're going to talk about wisdom and work, and then also I want to talk about, since we're talking about work, I want to also talk about rest. That comes up a lot, and Solomon definitely has some words about work, and in true Solomon fashion, they are randomly thrown throughout the book of Proverbs. Like Proverbs 14:23, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Proverbs 10:4, a slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Proverbs 12:11, those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies will have no sense. Or Proverbs 12:24, diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor. So there are a lot of verses in Proverbs about work, and mostly it's about the concept of working hard and the dangers of being a lazy bum, which is a conversation I think a lot of dads have with their young sons, okay? With their teenage sons about getting up out of bed, not being a bum, get a job, that can pay your rent, that kind of stuff. Here's what I want to really look at that Solomon focuses on in Proverbs 6. He says this, go to the ant, you slacker. Nice kind words from a father. Observe its ways and become wise. Without leader, administrator, or ruler, it prepares its provisions in summer. It gathers its food during harvest. How long will you stay in bed, you slacker? When will you get up from your sleep? A little slumber, a little folding of the arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a robber, your need like a bandit. I love the way the Message version puts this. It starts with, you lazy fool. Look at an ant. It's a fun sentence. Right here, Solomon lays out two distinct paths. So we want to talk about work. I think it's important that we also talk about rest, though, too. So I grew up in a family of 5. I'm the youngest of 5. I say this all the time, pastor dad, Christian school teacher mom. With 5 children in the state of New York, and those are your jobs, money wasn't coming out of our ears, you know what I mean? Like we got jobs pretty young as the 5 of us. We got jobs pretty early. We had to pay for our camps and our sports teams and our vacations and stuff like that. And the first job we all shared, and it was this, we had a bunch of paper routes in our town. And I don't mean like you see on TV where it's like the 10 houses on my street, I can throw them real quick and then go to school. No, this was like hundreds of houses. We had to drive to the neighborhoods, and we had to wake up at like 4 a.m. and get ready to go in the New York weather, which is trash. It is winter from October to April in New York. So think of this. In the middle of January, you wake up, the snow is falling, it's like -5 outside, and I'm putting on 3 pairs of sweatpants and then 1 pair of really, really nasty jeans because ink from newspaper gets on everything. You have black hands and your pants get black. It's just all over the place. It's disgusting. When you're washing your hands, it's not a good sight. And then you put on like 8 layers of hoodies and a big puffy coat like we have in New York. And then as the snow falls, you're just waddling through neighborhoods because you can't really walk. And I'm just throwing papers at houses. That was my job. When we would rotate as siblings, I would do Monday, my sister Tuesday, my brother Wednesday. I'm back on Thursday. My dad would get up every day, drive us to these places. Incredible. And then Sundays, I don't know if you remember getting a paper. Sundays have these really, really thick inserts that are like super heavy. So we would all do them together on Sunday, which meant for me, as someone who hates getting up early, I was always sleeping through my alarm, and my brother was coming in my room and like hitting me and ripping the covers off, yelling at me 5 times to get out of bed. I wasn't doing it. Needless to say, it was my first job, and it made me some money to pay for things as a kid. I wasn't like waking up like, can't wait to work this morning. Like, I can't wait to just deliver these papers with excellence and just, I can't wait. This is gonna be so great. No, my eyes were half shut. I was walking in the dark and just throwing papers at porches. Like, it didn't matter. That's what I was doing. It wasn't a great, I didn't have a great work ethic, I guess you could say. Then in high school, I got a job at a grocery store. It was called The Giant. It's where all my friends got a job, so I got one there too. I was bagging groceries and getting carts. And in New York, you could turn in cans for 5 cents. And so there was like a can room where it would crush all the cans, and it was disgusting, and it smelled horrible, and I had to empty it was bad. But that was my job. And again, I don't think I was the best worker. I wasn't the worst. I wasn't like stealing from the register or anything like that. But I mean, like, I was caught texting in the parking lot a lot. Yeah, I didn't have an iPhone, but I had a slide, a chocolate. I don't know if you guys remember that, where your phone didn't flip. It moved to the slide. Some reason that was better. And I got caught texting in the parking lot. We had multiple managers. For some reason, the mean manager, always the one who caught me in the parking lot. Again, it wasn't like I'd get home from school and be like, can't wait to go to the grocery store and just work. Like, I'm just going to do this with excellence. This is going to be really good. I'm going to work hard today. No, I was like a bum. I was a 16-year-old. I just wanted the paycheck that came with it, and I wanted to clock in late and leave early and then go to Taco Bell with what I made. Taco Bell, if Taco Bell didn't exist, I would have so much more money. Anyway, that's a different subject. You guys get that one for free. I wasn't in first service. I'm not sure what your first job was, okay? I'm not sure if it was a grocery store like me or something else, but most of us, no matter how long ago we had that job, are still working today in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's the same job, props to you, maybe it's not. But work is a huge part of our lives, and unless you inherit millions of dollars and live off that, you're gonna have to work in some way, shape, or form, okay? Even if you're retired, let's be real, you are still working. My mom retired last year from 30 years of teaching. For the past 2.5 weeks, she has had my oldest two in the state of New York with her, 7 and 5. Trust me, she has been working, okay? Like, she's going to bed tired at night, okay? And they're having a great time doing all sorts of cool things, but just because she's retired doesn't mean she's not working. Work can look different for us. You can have a 9 to 5 and work. You can work by caring for your family. You can work as a volunteer. You can work and serve here at church. We will all work at some point this year, somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 hours. In a lifetime, we will end up working something like 80,000 to 100,000 hours. That is a significant chunk of our life. So we should definitely figure out what wisdom and how that applies to work, what that looks like, and what a foolish work looks like as well. In Proverbs 6, Solomon tells us to look at the ant as an example. He's saying, hey, ants work hard. Ants are preparing for their future. Ants work for the whole colony. They do this. So Solomon thinks, hey, my son, you got to model yourself and your work ethic after this ant, which makes sense. Here's the thing, though. The ant is simply operating and working the way it was designed to. It's working off instinct. It's living and working how it was made and intended to do so. And we as human beings are similar. Here's the first thing I want us to understand when it comes to work. You and I were designed to work. We're going to leave Proverbs here for just a second. I know it feels a little bit like cheating, but we're still in the Bible, so I think that's okay. Are you okay with that? I don't care. We're going to do it anyway. So if we go to the beginning, in the beginning, Genesis 1 and 2, we start with nothing but God, nothing but Yahweh, nothing but the great I am. And then God speaks, and the universe appears and is created from nothing. In Genesis 1 and 2 walk us through this process, and eventually we get to day 6 where God is creating man, human beings, and he makes man in his very image, in his very likeness, to be like him, unlike anything else he'd made. And then we get to the verse right after God makes the first human being ever, and it says this in Genesis 2:15. The Lord God took the man and placed him in the garden to work it and watch over it. So from the beginning, Adam had a job. He was working. God made Adam and gave him a job to do, gave him responsibilities and told him, hey man, get to work. All this is yours to work on. And I want to make sure you catch this. This is in Genesis 2. Genesis 3, the next chapter, is what we call the fall. That's where Adam and Eve disobey. Sin enters the picture, and everything gets distorted and messed up. So since 2 comes before 3, work is before sin entered the picture. So here's what we learn. Work did not enter creation as a result of sin. Nor is work something we're supposed to avoid, like sin. Good and productive work is part of God's purpose for man in creation. Work was part of the design from the beginning. Work was something God made and looked at and said, hey, this thing is good. But nevertheless, like sin entered the picture. It fractured and twisted God's perfect design. Like a curse, it took what was good and perfect and distorted it. So work became difficult. Work became a struggle. Work became never ending, it seems. Work became something that most of us don't often want to do, but nevertheless, work was still something we were designed for. Work is and always has been part of God's big picture. And even though work is a good gift designed for us by the Creator, we as human beings, because of sin, have found a way to misuse it. And this is where, because of sin, we find a foolish path of work. When we misuse God's gift of work, foolish work looks like we tend to work for ourselves and for ourselves only. Our work gets very selfishly motivated. We tend to make it about making ourselves look good, get others to see me, notice me. How can I work in a way to get the praise I need for a job well done? How can I work in a way to make sure I make enough money so that I'm comfortable, so that I can buy what I want, when I want, so that I can arrive at that social status that I'm desiring, so that I can buy those luxury things so others will think more highly of me and notice me and see me, so I can have a house in that neighborhood? How can I work so I can have that kind of car? How can I work so that I can wear that brand of clothing so that the people around me will see me and know that I work hard and I do well? When we misuse God's gift of work, we tend to overwork. Our identity becomes wrapped up in what we do. We find our value and our self-worth in what we can accomplish. We overwork for that raise because, man, if we can just get that raise or get that new office or get that new title, then we will be happy and satisfied, and then I can rest. So we work and work and work, and we end up ignoring other parts of our life. We work and sacrifice our families, our friendships, our relationships, our own health to accomplish these things. And then ultimately someday we retire and we're replaced. When we misuse God's gift of work, we can also go the route of just being plain lazy work. We put in little effort. We just simply punch the time card. We clock in and we immediately go to YouTube and watch some cooking videos. Okay, sometimes I'll admit, I get hungry at work. I want to watch some videos about some really delicious pasta, and then maybe I'll make that night, okay? But if that is how we work, if all we do is clock in and then scroll on our phone endlessly, if we come in late and leave early, we simply clock in and we clock out to pay some bills. We're a lazy worker. That is a foolish way to work. That is a misuse of the gift that God has given us, because that isn't the kind of work that you and I were designed for. Our work is not meant to be detached from our relationship from God, but intertwined. We are meant to work for him and through him. So wise work, when we read the Proverbs, we see that wise work provides for us, provides for our families. It supports and provides and helps us prepare for the future. Yeah, we see Solomon saying that with the ant. But wise work is also done with excellence, because our work matters to God, both now and eternally. Whether you are working for a church or you're working at a gas station, your work matters. It is a form of worship. It is a form of ministry to those around you. So as we work, we should keep in mind who we're really working for. At the grocery store, I had two managers. They were both named Bob. Okay, one was a really, really nice Bob. One was a really, really mean Bob. And every night we worked with Nice Bob, we were pumped. He was kind, he was funny, he was helpful, he didn't think highly of himself. Even though he wore a white lab coat, he would still help me bagging groceries. I don't know why to this day, but the managers of a grocery store wore a white lab coat like they were a doctor. I don't know why, but that was a thing. So even though Bob wore the coat, he was still bagging groceries. He was awesome. We loved working for Nice Bob. We did a better job when Nice Bob was there. When me and Bob was there, we kept our head down, we kept to ourselves, we cut corners, we got out of there as soon as we could. Because that dude was like, if he looked at you wrong, you were just like, oh no, like you like shivered. He's a scary man. I still to this day think if he was sitting there, I'd be a little bit like, woof. And I'm way bigger than he is now. Anyway, all I'm saying is that who you work for makes a difference in the work you do. A good boss can completely make a work environment different. Okay, who here actually likes their boss? Maybe, okay. Who here is like, my boss is an idiot and I can't stand him? Maybe don't raise your hand for that one, never mind. Who here is like, my boss is in the room? Chill, Dan. No? Okay, yeah, don't raise your hand. If anything, fix your face, because they're definitely looking at you right now, so just maintain stoicness. Anyway, don't let that immediate boss motivate you. Hey, maybe we're talking about bosses. Maybe you are the boss. And if that's the case, guess what? You still have a boss. Every boss has a boss. And for us as followers of Jesus, when you go all the way up the boss ladder, it always ends at our Creator and our Savior and our God. So as followers of Jesus, that is the boss we work for. We work with excellence for the boss's boss, aka our Creator. Paul worded it better in the New Testament. He said this in Colossians 3, whatever you do, do it from the heart as something done for the Lord and not for people, knowing that you will receive the reward of an inheritance from the Lord. You serve the Lord Christ. So we have a foolish way to work and we have a wise way. The foolish way is selfish, it overworks, and it even can be lazy, the opposite way. But wise work supports and provides, is done with excellence, and it works for the right person. But here's the thing, life isn't all about work. I also want to talk about the other side, because as human beings, we were created for balance. We need both sides of things to survive. For instance, if you go outside, or if you never go outside, you're never in the sun, you're not going to be that healthy. You'll be really pale, kind of sickly. But if you go outside all the time and you just bake in the summer sun, you'll get fried to a crisp, you'll look like a lobster, or on the other side, you'll look tan, which really means you look like an old leather bag that's been left out in the sun, okay? Neither one's good for you. If you don't eat food at all, newsflash, you're gonna die. But if you don't eat enough, you'll become skinny and unhealthy. But on the other side, if you just overeat and overindulge constantly, you'll become obese, you'll become unhealthy and out of shape. If you drink no water, or you never drink water, and you're like Michelle used to be, she's gotten a lot better, my wife, and Coke was the replacement for her water. Her exact words were, there's water in Coke. That's not. You'll be dehydrated and sick. If you never drink water, you'll die. But also, I learned something in high school. On the opposite side, there is such thing as water poisoning. You can drink too much water and hurt yourself. I learned that when two of my friends in high school decided we were bored that day in school, and they were gonna have a contest to see who could drink more bottles of water. And it ended with neither of them feeling very good. Okay, nobody died or anything, but we learned about water poisoning, and instead just two friends felt really crappy that day and made 5 trips to the bathroom every class because they were just drinking so much water. But too little or too much, neither is good. We were created for balance, and the same thing applies to us when it comes to work. And the other side of that of work is rest. And just like you were designed for work, you were designed for rest. Let's go back to the beginning one more time. God had just finished making everything, and then we see this in Genesis 2. So the heavens and the earth and everything in them were completed. On the seventh day, God had completed his work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, for on it he rested from all his work of creation. So from the get-go, God sets the example of there's work and there is rest. And later in the Bible, in the book of Exodus, we see this rest is called Sabbath, and it's so important to the Israelite people that it's part of the 10 Commandments. Rest was that crucial. The word Sabbath comes from the Hebrew word that just means to cease or to stop working. And the Sabbath was a demonstration for us on how the rhythm of life was supposed to go. That when we rest, we imitate God by stopping our work and taking time away from it. A rhythm of work and rest is essential to life. That balance is key. God invites us into a deliberate pattern of regular rest. And this kind of rest is intended to be restorative. It's meant to provide opportunities for us to intentionally take time to focus on Christ and our relationship with him. And rest, just like work, is a gift. And just like work, we tend to misuse God's gift. Foolish rest, sometimes we call it rest, but really it's just laziness. Solomon talks about in Proverbs 6, right? How long will you stay in bed, you slacker? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a robber. Proverbs 24, he says something similar. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the arms to rest, and your poverty will come like a robber, and your need like a bandit. When we misuse God's gift of rest, sometimes we're just lazy. Yes, we as human beings need rest, but remember, it's about balance, which means there is also work to be done. So no, you oversleeping every single day is not needed rest, okay? It's just you not being disciplined. Being designed for rest doesn't mean you get to go to bed at 2 a.m. and when you oversleep, you walk in late to work and just go, hey, listen, God made me to sleep and I needed to sleep, okay, get off my back. No, it just means that you should discipline yourself and be more intentional with your rest and go to bed earlier. It also doesn't mean you get to demand mandatory nap time at the office and be like, hey, listen, at my church, we talked about rest. I think I should be able to nap from 2 to 3. It's just not how that works, okay? Purposefully and continually avoiding work is not rest, it's laziness. It's not living in the design we were made for when we try to avoid just what we're supposed to be doing and what we're made for. When we misuse God's gift of rest, it also can mean that we are trying to find rest in something that is apart from God. We try to rest in something that wasn't meant to refill us and restore us like it should. Listen, we're broken. We're human beings. We're broken. We're flawed. Sin has twisted and distorted what we know. And so often something out there looks and seems like it is exactly what we need to find rest. But man, let me tell you, it is not. We think we can find rest in that drink or that new relationship or that Netflix show or that food or that party or whatever it may be, fill in the blank for yourself. But what happens is we run to it, we get it, we hope to feel rested and peaceful and restored, but instead at the end, we end up feeling more tired, more burnt out than ever before. It leaves us emptier than when we started. Because even if what we run to isn't inherently bad, it isn't God. Listen, I love vacation. I love the beach. I love a vacation at the beach. It's the best kind. I don't know why you go to lakes, okay? I've been going to them my whole life whenever we could as a family. But I don't know about you. How many of us have had a vacation that we are so looking forward to? It's months were planned out. We're working really hard. We can't wait to get away. It's been tough. It's been difficult. We can't wait to get to the beach or to that cruise or to the lake or to the cabin. Can't wait to spend a week there. Then we get there. We spend the week there. We enjoy it. It's good. It's not as perfect as we made it out to be. The bed was a little too firm. The sheets were a little too scratchy, something like that, but it was still good, okay? And then we get back. You drop your bags in your house. You got back from your trip, and you are exhausted. You need a vacation day before you go back to work from your vacation because we are attempting to find rest and peace and rejuvenation in things that can't quite get the job done. They can be good things. They can help. And in the midst of them, we can have rest and relaxation, but these things alone can't provide the real rest we need. Real rest is only found in our Creator. And there's nothing wrong with a vacation. I think they're good. You should definitely take them. But often when we take a vacation, we get out of our daily rhythm and our daily routine, we also get out of our routine of spending time with our Creator and our Savior. And our rest should start and finish in our relationship with God. We shouldn't rest away from God, but instead rest in Him. It's Jesus who says, hey, come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And then He says He'll give us the best kind of rest for your souls. And can you find that rest with God on vacation? Yes, it's the best kind. So you should definitely do that. But foolish rest is us trying to find rest in everything but Him. When we misuse God's gift of rest, we don't normally rest until we're absolutely fried. The rest comes at the end. We tend to think of rest as like a weakness. In our world, if you aren't busy, there must be something wrong with you. Like you must be a bum or something. Because how many of you have a friend and you haven't seen them in a while, you're like, hey man, how you doing? And they don't say good, they don't say bad, they just say busy. And they like take an exhale, like, oh man, I'm behind just talking to you right now. You know, like that's how busy we are. Because we don't value rest like we should. Because if rest is a normal part of your life, you must not be working hard enough to provide the best kind of life for the people around you. You must not be making enough money. Your kid must not have made the top travel team like my kid, because we never stop moving. We tend to work and work and work, and we work to an overextension. And we work till maybe like sickness catches us or burnout begins to set in. And then as we're collapsing, walking through the door, we finally take a day off or we finally take a vacation. And on our day off, we tend to take our phone or our laptop with us because, just to check and keep up with some emails, maybe answer a few texts because like I can't fall behind. That's not balance. That's not how we were designed. So then what's the wise path? If this is foolish rest, what were we designed for? What's the right way? Wise rest actually comes before work. Instead of working till we drop and then taking a rest as we're fried, we should instead work from our rest. Back in Genesis, we see that God creates human beings and then He immediately rests them. He settles them in the garden with Him. And at the end of Genesis 1, God creates humans and then He says to them, hey, be fruitful and multiply, subdue the earth, rule over the animals. He gives them the job. It's a good job though. And then at the end of that verse is the end of the 6th day of work, and then it's the 7th day, and they rested. So the first thing they did was rest. It's the same way for the Israelite people in the Bible. All throughout the Old Testament, for the Jewish people, the day began at nightfall. Like the evening was the beginning. So tonight when it gets dark, that would be the beginning of Monday. So for the Jewish people, when the day began, they were going home to eat, sleep, and rest. Then work. In our world, we begin the day with work. My alarm goes off, 10 minutes later, I'm behind, I gotta rush out the door, and I work until I'm gassed, and then I try to find some rest at the end of the day. Or sometimes my brain works like this. I may have a crazy day or a crazy week, and my mind goes, hey, okay, when can I rest? And I see at the end, okay, 9 p.m. tonight. I have so much to do, but if I can just make it to 9 p.m. tonight, then I can get some Taco Bell on the way home, I can sit on the couch, I can hang out with Michelle, and I can watch my show, and I can rest. If I can just get to the rest, My only aim is the rest. It overlooks the work. And this is missing the point of how we were designed to rest and designed to work. Because in the Old Testament, beginning with rest, they would work after being well rested, after being restored. Their rest fueled their work. So the idea is, hey, what would happen if I started my workday with a full tank? If I began rested and then worked out of that? And our tendency is to think, man, there's no way rest can come first. There's so much to do. There's emails and meetings and projects and on and on and on. I'll rest when they're done. But here's the honest truth. There will always be more emails and more meetings and more dishes and more laundry and more gardening and more landscaping. We will never get it all done. The way we handle our work, though, could be better if we brought some balance to our lives and rested. And that type of rest allows us to work well. So we should work from rest and not just rest from work. Wise rest is also a way to worship. It's rest found in our Creator. Real, true, healthy rest is stopping work and being present with God. It is a purposeful break from the grind to take a breath and fix our eyes on the one who is the reason we do it all in the first place. So this kind of rest isn't some like legalistic rule that you have to follow and you have to obey. It's actually an invitation to be present with God and be reminded that all of this does not rest on your shoulders. He's got it, and he's got you. The core spiritual issue in rest and stopping, it revolves around trust. Will God take care of us? Will God take care of our concerns, even if we obey him and rest? Even if I take a moment to stop? Because not working is actually like an act of faith. Rest can almost be scary, but trust me, everything will be okay. God is still holding the universe together even when you take a nap. Wise rest is worship because it helps keep God in his right place and us in ours. Wise rest reminds us of our dependence on God. It's a reminder that even though we may stop, the world continues on. The work continues with or without us. And rest is a reminder that ultimately life does not depend on my hard work, but on God's. It is dependent on his provision and his grace. Here's an example, I can work and work and work in my ministry. I can neglect everything else in my life and put countless hours into our student ministry. And if God's power is not present, it's useless. But on the counter, I could honestly completely mess it up. I could fumble it, drop the ball, miss the mark, and guess what? God could still choose to move and bring about incredible things in our church and in our student ministry because ultimately it does not rise and fall on me. And rest is a reminder that it is all ultimately his anyway. And he will choose to do what he wants because he is God and I'm not. And no amount of overtime is going to change that. So, accept the invitation. Take a break and rest in his presence. Rest done with a relationship with God in mind is healthy. It's good for us. It fills us. It rejuvenates us. It breathes life into us. Because we as human beings are not made to run nonstop. We aren't machines made for work. We are humans. And we will break down. We will burn out. And when we get out of balance with life and work and rest, that imbalance and that unhealthiness then bleeds into other areas of our life. So, rest may look different for all of us. Whatever rest may look like for you. If it's a nap or a good night's sleep. If it's a vacation and time away from the normal routine. If it is a good meal and conversation with people that you love. If it is reading a book in your favorite chair or watching a movie. If it's working out or going for a walk in nature or a hike. Whatever it is that provides you a healthy break from the work of life. Whatever allows you to purposefully take a moment and stop. Just make sure that while you take that break, you're resting in God and not away from him. When we stop and rest, we respect our humanity and the very image of God in us. We are following the design of the Creator because we are not nonstop beings. We need rest. And honestly, for most of us, it takes some kind of physical illness or something to stop us and force us to rest. But we also have to remember, we don't serve rest. Rest is not our purpose. Rest isn't our motivation. Rest instead is meant to serve us. Rest allows us to work the way we were designed to. Listen, hey, God worked, we are meant to work. God rested, we are meant to rest. And when we're walking the wise path of rest and work, we kind of realize that they actually feed off each other so well. When we take time and we purposefully rest, and we rest the way we were designed, and then when we are well rested, our work improves and we work well. And when we work well and we work the way we were designed, and we work in excellence for the boss's boss, then work leads us to real rest. And on and on and on the cycle goes. And it can feel insignificant as like a follower of Jesus to spend the time talking about work and talking about rest and like, come on, man, like we have a mission. But here's the thing, we do have a purpose. We have a mission. We as a church are on a mission to lead the disconnected and unfulfilled to find a full life in Jesus. And our goal as a church and as a group of people is to be in our community and point people to Jesus, the one who gives full life, the one who changes everything. And we don't just do that on Sunday morning and Wednesday nights. That happens every day at the office. That happens Monday through Friday at schools. It happens daily in our homes. It happens weeknights in the gym and on the field. And if we become a group of people who walk these kinds of wise paths with our work and with our rest, I not only believe it will help lead us to the life that we are designed for and made for and we ultimately desire, but I think it will also lead to us impacting the community, bringing light to a dark place. The people around us will notice. The people around us will see something in us, and then we, through our work and through our rest, get to point them to the one who changes everything. And so when we really look at it, wise work and wise rest leads us to accomplishing the mission of changing Camden County around us. Let's pray. God, we love you. Thank you for being a God who designed and made all that we know and did it with such wisdom and knowledge. God, I pray that as we walk through life in work and rest in just every area of our life and family and friends and our words and all that stuff, I pray that we can trust the way you designed us to do these things. And I pray that we can be a group of people this week and this month and this year and from now on who live here in our community and who work in a way that we were designed to and brings glory to you. And we rest in a way that we are designed to and brings glory to you. And I pray that because of that, we can have an impact on the people around us. And we can see life change happen because we chose to trust you